Andor delivers easily its best episode yet with the end of the second 3-episode act. So after 2 weeks of intense build-up and character work and lots of little political minutiae and, you know, all that kind of interesting stuff that Andor has kind of brought to the center stage and made it feel so unique and different and exciting for Star Wars, we finally get some classic Star Wars stuff. A big old heist, lots of laser guns shooting about, we get TIE fighters, we get people singing a little song and doing a little dance, which is always fun. But what I found the best and most exciting part of this episode is that even though it was action-packed and exciting and had, you know, lots of shooting and guns and all that fun stuff, it also felt like it was really grounded. It felt like it didn't, like, lose sight of the fact that it's this political show, this character-driven show, and all these tiny little beats throughout the episode made it feel so much more exciting than just it's a heist episode, baby! You son of a bitch, I'm in. I think the thing that excites me most about this show is the portrayal of the Empire and all of the people in the Empire. Like, they are so much more grounded and therefore so much more terrifying. Like, I love a big cackling villain and he's like, unlimited power! That's always fun and great, and I think that definitely works better for a movie. But for a TV show where we're spending so much more time with all these characters, I am loving the way they are portraying them. Like, the first thing that really shocked me was, at one point, they kill one of the Imperial officers because he's like, don't kill the kid! Make sure the kid survives! And I'm like, that's oddly honorable. You might almost say he's a good human being, and then they're just like, bam, bam, bam! No, he's dead. Screw that guy. And it's like, oh, wow. That is, that's pretty intense. And another really small moment was just when all the natives of the planet are coming to the big song and dance, and just the way that all the Empire characters and like people there were talking about them, and just the way he's like, oh, they do a big pilgrimage and it's beautiful and amazing. So we decided to put taverns up everywhere so that they would like drink, and now there's no one coming. And it's just like, that's so sick and like twisted, and there's just really kind of small way. Like, it wasn't like he just went, oh, we just killed them all because I'm evil. It was just like this really painfully real kind of take on it all. Just the way they were kind of discussing and talking about how they're manipulating this culture that lives on this planet for this big, impossibly beautiful. Like, this episode was just stunning, gorgeous, like one of the best looking Star Wars things we've seen ever. And it's just so heartbreaking to see how the Empire is like doing all these little things everywhere. Like, you could just imagine this circumstance on so many other planets. I don't know, it felt really great at world building, but also staying really small and specific. But it also did make me feel like, man, they're doing this everywhere, and it's not okay. I'm going to say something pretty controversial here, and Empire bad. But then obviously the most evil thing that happens this episode is right at the end. The guy who played Qui-Gon from Game of Thrones, he's like, everyone get in here, no one sit down, don't get comfortable, we're going to be here till midnight. Tell everyone who's working, tell your families that you're not going home tonight. And I just kept thinking, I bet you they're not getting paid overtime either. It's a crisis, stop being greedy. Workman number 37, like, you're not getting overtime, no one's getting overtime, I'm not getting overtime. And it's like, well, they're working for you, they should be getting overtime. I have no proof that they're not getting paid overtime, but it had that vibe. That guy has that vibe where he's like, well, you wanna rise up the ranks, you just gotta do a little bit of overtime for free. There's Palpatine evil, and then there's not paying your work is evil. Another thing that I found really enjoyable, but kind of in like the horrible way, like I enjoyed how it was presented because it made me feel so uneasy and like unsettled. The main Empire guy, I don't know his name. We get introduced to his family, and we get a really nice little quick scene that shows, oh, this family not so happy, and he thinks his son sucks, and they clearly think he sucks, and you know, she does a little joke about him, he can't get his belts on, and then she's like, maybe actually it's because you got fat, and I'm like, that is, I don't like that I'm relating most to that character, but you know, it happens to the best of us. And the worst. Like this guy, who's the worst. And the whole time I just kept being like, we're gonna kill your family if you don't do what we say. And I just kept thinking, I think maybe he's going to let them kill them. And then the rebels are all going to have to kill this child. And then he's going to be like, I didn't actually really like my son anyway. He was kind of a dweeb and, you know, he's always sick. And just the fact that they weren't getting along, I was like, hey, could it go one way? We go, actually, he's a human who loves his family. But I was really afraid it would go the other way. And I just found that really interesting because you kind of aren't sure how it's going to go. Because, you know, as it's a heist episode, something's got to go wrong in the heist. Turns out what goes wrong is they just did Rogue One again. They're like, remember Rogue One where we had all these characters and you didn't care about any of them and then they all died and it should have been powerful, but it just kind of happened? Well, we're going to just do that again and you're going to love all of these characters or at least enjoy them, and especially that guy from the Black Mirror episode where he's the... you know, like when that box swung down and hit him because none of them were wearing seatbelts or whatever in the plane, it just... oh, it really upset me. And he's like, I can't feel my legs. It's just like, oh, at least just like kill him like flat out. Don't make him paraplegic. And then we got a bloody Marchump guy trying to fix him up. And then he's like, I did what I could. And then they put the sheet over him and it's just like, oh my God, he just died. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they just Rogue One us again. Visually, this episode is kind of flawless. Like, it's so grounded and real with them all just running about, like, as the army people doing the army marching. But then it gets up to that point where the eye thing happens, and it's just so intense. Like, seeing it slowly happen, like, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see the end thing. But I didn't realize how spectacular and amazing it would be, how long it would last. It was just so cool, and I just loved seeing, like, all the natives, like, some of them were just kind of in awe, not even being able to properly react, and then by the end, like, one of them was just pouring tears, like, I don't know, it was just super exciting, and, like, very nice and spiritual, but also just a big old spectacle of lights and colour, and I'm all about lights and colours just flying all over my face. It's great. And this episode has maybe one of the coolest shots I've ever seen in anything. I think because it's so real and it's so much on location, the CGI somehow feels better, or maybe they just, like, put more effort compared to Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. I don't know why they would, but they clearly have. But the TIE fighters, like when they're getting into the TIE fighters and you see the stars going across and it's just, it's too cool. I also love that Andor, who is kind of pretty much like a Han Solo-esque character before Han Solo, he does another classic Han Solo shoots first moment, or I guess now it's Andor shoots first. Because Andor he just loves killing a man, because he's like, I disagree. Bang! Bang, 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 bang. And it's just like, oh my God, the fact that he killed Richie from the bear so quickly, like he didn't even go, hey, you come with me, you're going to admit what you just said, so she believes me. He's just like, nah, bang, dead. Which is kind of insane, because it's like, on one hand, yeah, that guy is super dogsy, and I love that line where it's like, I don't have a brother. It's like, oh, but dude, that was like the emotional end of the arc last episode. What a portrayal. But I also love that as he's doing this, I kind of couldn't tell if maybe he was trying to test Andor, and Andor would be like, oh yeah, maybe we'll do it. And then he's like, hey, Andor, that was a test and you failed the test, or something like that. But I think that brother line really was like, oh, okay, no, this guy sucks. But also, like, yeah, 40 million credits, that's a... I wouldn't like to be in that situation, because that's a lot of money to tempt you to do something truly awful. You'd never have to cook again. You could just get takeaway. $8 Uber Eats delivery fee? I don't even care. That's not even that expensive to me, because I'm a billionaire. Papa Skarsgård's moment right at the end was a really nice kind of bookend of like that 5th episode and this episode. Like in that one, he's just like, oh, I'm stressed and I don't like this, or it could all be over, or it's maybe starting. And he's just so stressed and anxious, and it ends on that kind of ominous note. And then in this one, I mean, he doesn't know that most of them died, which I think he'll probably be a little sad. Like, I laughed and they all died. That's sad. And he goes into his little back room of Star Wars Easter eggs. I presume, I'm not that kind of, like, I am a nerd, but I'm not that kind of nerd. I just don't notice those type of things unless it's a very obvious, just like, you know, like a Tusken Raider mask. I'd be like, that's a thing from the other movie. But yeah, he's in his little Easter egg room of Star Wars references, and he's just smiling and laughing, and I'm just like, his face is what my face looks like, just in awe that Star Wars can make me feel so happy and excited and just so tense, and like, it's just it's doing so much so well. And I don't know how long ago Obi-Wan was, but just say a couple months ago, I don't think I've ever hated Star Wars so much. I've just been so disappointed, just like, oh God, this is the way we're going. It's all over. And then Andor's like, Star Wars your favorite thing at the moment? I'm like, it is. How is it? I don't know. Why is Andor my favorite character now? Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what everyone thought of episode 6 of Andor.